Today I'm going to talk about uh, relationship to your own masculine. Uh, Last time I talked about how women relate to different spectrums of the masculine. I'm just going to talk today from a person's own perspective, how they relate to their own maturity, and how they relate to other expressions of the masculine from a man's perspective. So, I displayed here is just the different expressions of the masculine development. People at different developmental stages, um, showing different developmental strengths and challenges in each expression. Um, so I'm just going to talk about why this came to pass, how this came to pass, and how you can create more balance while still being yourself. Everybody needs to be not only themselves and what they're comfortable in, be able to embody whatever they're most comfortable with, but also to explore outside their comfort level. So this isn't about being fake or being disingenuous, but exploring, expanding your boundaries, finding different parts of yourself and integrating them. I guess I talked about extremes last time. I have the extreme intellectual masculine mind. So Jesse Eisenberg. But I was just watching Social Network last night. So the character Mark Zuckerberg he plays is perfect of masculine intelligence. So it's an extreme of masculine intelligence, hyper rational. But he was socially retarded in the movie, you could say. This is more common in white culture, I would say. Also common among Asians. But that's just how their development expressed itself. So the movie kind of played out a lot of the challenges that expression of masculinity has. On the I guess the more animal masculine, the human masculine level, the Danny Trejo is one example of that. Again, the biker, the gangster, generally, I mean, intellectual society might see this as dysfunctional. I'm not interpreting this as dysfunctional. Potentially dysfunctional, potentially dangerous. But it's important that every man understand that aspect of himself. But Freud would call that the id. Just the capacity to use direct action, if that's what a situation calls for, but also an ability to take it. So that's that. You're not. There's a certain fearlessness, and I'll talk about the different problems and potentials with that developmental expression. Explore that a little bit, but that's a part of every man. So if you want to look at extremes of what is masculine intelligence, there's Jesse Eisenberg or Mark Zuckerberg. What is masculine? The animalistic side. Danny Trejo is a good example of that, and that's an aspect of every man. Moving up a notch, you have Brad Pitt, George Clooney, representing the more balanced masculine expression. There's a confidence, a rationality about them, stability about them. So those are all strong masculine characteristics. But you can see they're beginning to integrate their own feminine, and they're also very open feminine, receiving the feminine energy. So these are good just as far as like the characters they play, their body language, their communication style, the kind of vibe you get from them. That's kind of the balanced masculine you can look at. So just a different flavor again when you look at the Eisenbergs compared to Brad Pitt, George Clooney, and when you look at Danny Trejo even and George Pitt or Brad Pitt, George Clooney, different vibes come from all these extremes. And on another level, you have the more feminine integrated men, and I would consider these positive examples of that. Coldplay singer, Chris Martin, Andre 3000. So these are men who are in touch with their inner feminine. That's every man has that aspect. Every man has a right brain, and which means that they're very open to the feminine as well. So the capacity for connection and co-creation is there. Co-creation, creativity. So whereas when you get the hyper masculine, so that's the relationship to females. That's what forms bonds between these types of men and females. Between this type of men, the gift of females is more rational stability, ability to analyze. There's not a lot of sexual attraction in that energy. So you can see that in Zuckerberg's or that storyline, because until he was successful, there wasn't much sexual. He couldn't generate a lot of sexual attraction because even he knows that he's alienated from his id. He's completely identified with this rational intelligence, alienated from his desires, his intentions, his fearlessness. There's a high level of anxiety you sense, especially in the character that he plays, the Zuckerberg character, which is a function not only of just like alienation from his sexuality, alienation from his own id, but the hyper-identification with the rationality. While it's good for getting places and getting things done, there can be your capacity to just be more cool, be more chill, have more of a sense of humor is somewhat compromised. So I said when you're in that hyper-rational mode, it can be just a nervy kind of experience in existence. But it came with its benefits, and as with Trejo's expression, he's in touch. He's integrated with his sexuality, integrated with his intuitive man, his animal man, you could say. So each has its downsides, I guess, and its upsides. Again, I guess you, from a developmental perspective, the most important thing is just, if you're looking to expand your own boundaries, looking to develop, just to know where you fall in the spectrum. Don't make things right or wrong. Just understand that you have skill sets and opportunities to grow. So, like if your expression of masculinity is more the brainy, hyper-cerebral masculinity, then you can look to different expressions of masculinity, and they call it maybe like a man crush or what do you call it? But you're gonna feel I don't necessarily want to say attraction, like friendships with and willingness. The men that you're going to look up to and want to be are going to be different expressions of the spectrum. So you may look up to the more the Danny Trejo types, the more integrated masculine animal, and that seems degrading. I don't mean. I just mean everybody has an animal side to themselves. It's important to stay in touch with that and not let that consume you, but not be alienated from that. That's the most healthy way to be developed and to be integrated. We talk about integration. So he already has a high rational, logical development, but he needs to be more integrated. So his developmental challenge is integrating with his animal masculine, and also integrating with his own feminine, to a certain point, to where he's more open to receiving the feminine perspective, open to receiving the feminine gifts, you could say. But it's really his own emotional intelligence that he's opening up to. From the more feminine integrated man, they can be alienated from the rational brains. It could be lead to challenges like his focus or direction, sense of purpose, practicality. These the feminine integrated man. If this is what your expression is, those might be your challenges. So yeah, seeing Zuckerberg's capacity to create action, to analyze a situation, break down a situation, that getting in touch with that more, integrating to a healthy level, that kind of efficiency and precision. There can be challenges in different levels. So, but also they may be alienated from their animal masculine as well to some extent. So, from this perspective, Eisenberg, he might be able to attract women once he's personally successful, just because of his rational mind's capacity to break down problems and to get from point A to point B. So women may be compelled to that because, like, genetically they're drawn to signs of success, signs of status. It doesn't mean that there's going to be necessarily like a healthy dynamic between them. So being able to be more balanced and integrated is one key to not only his well-being, but the well-being of his relationship. So it's important to keep both of those things in mind. From Trejo's perspective, again, getting in touch with his feminine. So, if this is your reality, this is your expression, understanding things like dance and art and fluidity, knowing how to integrate those elements into yourself, but also integrating the rational mind, the rational intelligence. This allows you to see more into the future. While it's good that you have like the killer instinct and the moment by moment intuitive gut level perception is strong, so your level of shrewdness is strong. The rational side of things, which allows you to think more long term, more procedurally. That's something that is an area where you need to grow, yes, and that'll develop another dimension of yourself. And it's important, like, to not lose connection with your fundamental strength. So, at any point, like, Zuckerberg's never going to get out of his rational mind entirely. So he's going to be reliant upon that intelligence to get through his life. But it's important to bring in new elements, bring in new expressions of masculinity. So these are the kind of extremes. So you're going to learn, Trejo's going to learn emotional intelligence and awareness from the more emotional integrated masculine. He's going to learn more rational intelligence and the capacity to break down things, think long term, from the Eisenberg types. Clooney and Pitt, from their own self-development perspective and also their relationship to the feminine, again, they're probably the most healthy balance I could think of. If you want to look at statistically the most compatibility of any kind of expression of masculinity, which, I mean, everybody's different. Everybody's got different goals in life, but if you just want to talk statistically, they're probably the most balanced energetically when you talk about their connection with both their rational and animal masculine in a healthy way, and also their openness to the feminine in themselves and in their partners. So that's a brief overview of masculine's relationship to himself. Again, the key is openness to the other spectrum, ability to be flexible without being fake. That's all we got. Thanks for listening.